All right, so let me ask. You guys made my dreams come true by making a Ratchet and Clank movie. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys decided to develop this video game franchise into a movie?
Yeah, we were fans just like yourself. I mean, ultimately we came from that direction. We looked at this and thought, this is just a great story. These are great characters. What would it be like if there was a more of a linear storyline around them, where we can actually develop their world a bit more and understand the true origin of these characters and how they interact in more of a dramatic storytelling setting. So that's really where the idea came from, was wouldn't this be cool to transition this from an interactive world to a big screen world, and what would that really look like?
Now, tell me a little bit about working with Insomniac Games, because it feels like you guys are kind of breaking new ground, actually working with the developers to make this movie.
It was really the key to the entire process. We had to do that. We couldn't go into this and not make this film without Insomniac being involved. If they weren't there, we'd know immediately that the fans would be, throwing up a flag and saying this is not authentic to the franchise. They had to be involved. They had to be intimately involved, actually. So for us to really, we are your fans. We already knew a bunch about the franchise, but they live and breathe it, and they're ultimately the ones that can make this true to what everybody grew up playing, and make it something that those that go into the theater say this really represents the property correctly.
So I was so happy when I found out that you guys were having the original voices of Ratchet, Clank, and Quark all in this movie. Was there ever a time where someone was like, "Oh, why don't we get Brad Pitt to do the voice of Ratchet?" Absolutely.
There were several moments when that actually happens. But when we continue to reiterate that it's not the property, it's not the franchise if they aren't the voices. Much like you see, Trey and Matt do South Park. You're not going to go in going, "Oh, that's Tom Cruise and that's somebody else being the voice characters for South Park characters." You really think it's Ratchet, it's Clank, it's Quark, it's Nefarious. Those are the core. That's the core elements of what made the franchise so popular. I mean, they are one-to-one to what this property is about.
So now, what was it like developing this new video game that ties in with the movie while also making the movie? Were there some challenges in that?
Yeah, Insomniac was really smart. Again, because they were so intimately involved, they knew where their opportunities were. And the opportunity came from telling it from Quark's perspective. So that's really what is fun about this, right? Because if you tell, I've already watched the film, or I've already played the game, but this gives you a different feel. So it's still fresh and new, but ties in so nicely to the property. And it really follows exactly what Quark is like. I mean, it says exactly what Quark would be like as a character. It'd be like, that's not really the story. That's not really what happened. I'm going to tell you from my version, which is completely overblown, completely, from a perspective that's tweaked and altered. And that's what makes it so much fun, because you're like, yeah, that makes total sense. He would do that.
Totally. Now, let me know, okay, so Ratchet and Clank comes out, does really well. Is there like a video game franchise or a Sony video game franchise that you would also really love to adapt?
Well, we're already working on Sly Cooper. So Sly Cooper's already in the process, already being developed. We announced it this last year. So we're certainly looking at that. But if Ratchet Clank does well, we would love to see how that franchise would extend into a potential sequel.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.